So Mayor, we're gonna have you.
Yeah, you can be there to her right.
Will you sit right there? Next to the judge.
Come on, everyone. Still gotta fill in both sides. Absolutely. Alrighty. All here in place. Alrighty, so.
How you doing?
Doing good. Good to see you.
Nice to see you again. I ain't going to work. Never been to such a formal press conference.
Can you dressed up for the trip?
Press conference. Not during the disaster.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning. Nice to see you. Good to see you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. You guys good on the cameras? Okay. Well, thank you all so much. I know that the press has also been working around the clock on this disaster. I want to thank Mayor. I think both of us and our teams were working through the night, and that's just so important to be able to coordinate and work together, and I'm really thrilled that you and your team are here. Thank you. I'm here also with Mark Sloan, our Chief Emergency Manager, Chief Rodney Reed from the Harris County Fire Marshal's Office, Jeff Linder, a meteorologist, Paul Locke, who's the Manager of Local Government Relations from Centerpoint, Jeff Evans from the National Weather Service, and I want to just acknowledge our commissioners. They've been working to pick up the debris, and so they're working really hard. We don't normally have them here because if we bring one, we have to bring all of them, but I do want to acknowledge them. And I've been in touch with several of them overnight. Extremely, extremely hard work. In terms of what is happening, it's been a long 2 weeks. I know that a lot of people woke up this morning to see debris, to see destruction. Several people experienced the storm yesterday, and I've heard some horror stories of just terror and powerlessness. This is the second time our community's been battered in just 2 weeks. Thankfully, the areas impacted last time by the San Jacinto River, the flooding there. Of course, we had some street flooding in Kingwood. Were not impacted by last night's event, but we are ultimately one community. Our first responders are the same first responders. And so we're going to acknowledge how unfortunate that is, how frustrating that is, how unlikely it is, but we're also going to keep moving forward. Last night, we were expecting some rain. The meteorologists were in touch with us. We knew something was coming. But instead, we saw winds of 80 to 100 miles an hour. I asked, how did we not see that coming? And what they shared with me is this is at the peak end of an unlikely scenario to happen. So certainly, to put it gently, we got unlucky last night in terms of what ended up happening with the weather. It's rare for these kinds of things to happen. This kind of wind is something we have not seen in Harris County since Hurricane Alicia in 1983. There were strong winds in Ike. I remember, so many of us remember in 2008, but it was not like this. I was in Washington, D.C. yesterday. I was visiting with the Vice President, talking about Mental Health Month. But as soon as I heard about how bad the winds were, I luckily was able to find one seat on the plane, got in about 3 in the morning, and had a chance to work with our partners overnight. There's a lot we know, and there's a lot we don't know. So the fundamental takeaway here from me is, please give us until tomorrow, 24 hours, for more certainty. For right now, for the people who are watching this on their phone, don't know what's going to happen, don't have power, are wondering the extent of the damage, we are working as hard as we can to get that for you. We, the precincts, the state, the first responders, everybody. We know there was a tornado in Bridgeland in Cyprus, which opened into really high winds into the downtown metro area, and then toward the bay. And we can see the image there that our team put together. And so that whole area with the red lines, it started up here in Bridgeland, and then it went all the way down. And so, but of course, not all of that, thankfully, is destroyed. So it's really some sort of sporadic strings of damage where you may have one home or one street and the next one over is fine. It's just the nature of this kind of thing. But that also makes it difficult for us to know exactly where the trouble areas are. We have flipped 18-wheelers. We have an 8-unit apartment shut down in Galena Park. We know there have been casualties, but we don't know the latest number, the number of injuries. I've spoken to several people who obviously are going through a hard time. We've had multiple structure fires related to the initial impacts and the continuing impacts as early as this morning. Some areas of really bad damage pretty much all along the diagonal I mentioned, that corridor of really intense damage. We do have some trees down, multiple streaks of damage, all laid out in the same direction from northwest to southeast. So here's another key message for everyone. And then toward the bay, and we can see the image there that our team put together. And so that whole area with the red lines, it started up here in Bridgeland, and then it went all the way down. And so, but of course, not all of that, thankfully, is destroyed. So it's really some sort of sporadic strings of damage where you may have one home or one street and the next one over is fine. It's just the nature of this kind of thing. But that also makes it difficult for us to know exactly where the trouble areas are. We have flipped 18-wheelers. We have an 8-unit apartment shut down in Galena Park. We know there have been casualties, but we don't know the latest number, the number of injuries. I've spoken to several people who obviously are going through a hard time. We've had multiple structure fires related to the initial impacts and the continuing impacts as early as this morning. Some areas of really bad damage pretty much all along the diagonal I mentioned, that corridor of really intense damage. We do have some trees down, multiple streaks of damage, all laid out in the same direction from northwest to southeast. So here's another key message for everyone. We are going to have to talk about this disaster in weeks, not days. For some folks, the luckier ones, it might be days, not hours. For some who've had the power restored, you know, that's wonderful. But for many, many people, it's going to be weeks and not days. At peak, we had 930,000 customers in CenterPoint's service region without power. And so most of them were in Harris County. Now we are at 740,000 customers without power. The bulk of those also in Harris County. We have had a number of transmission lines down, 7 of those are in Harris County. But of course, our region has been affected. For those without power, I want to be really direct so you can begin calibrating your expectations. If you are tied into the transmission lines that fell, those huge towers, we've seen them piled down, imagine 10 of them in a couple different places in the county. That can take weeks to restore. CenterPoint doesn't know exactly the damage or how long it will take or who is ultimately tied into those transmission lines. But there will be some people in the county that, just like in Ike, are going to have to go a couple of weeks most likely without power. CenterPoint has 2,000 mutual aid folks committed en route to restore power. They're working to secure up to 4,000 coming from all over the regions, but they have asked, they won't be done assessing the damage until tomorrow and just need a whole day just to assess the facilities. In terms of what we don't know the extent of damage yet. We don't know the timeline for electricity restoration. We don't know, again, the exact number of fatalities or injuries. Our emergency operations center is getting more full by the minute, and everybody is just working with their agencies. The warning messages that were sent out, the National Weather Service, the media, we saved countless lives, and I love to know that we don't have that number because our first responders and our community took actions to take care of themselves, followed our advice, moved away from windows, moved to a lower floor, and that was probably the first time we'd ever put that into the messaging, so I appreciate that people followed those warnings. Our crews work day and night to clear debris, again, whether it be the precincts, whether it be TxDOT or others. They continue damage assessments. I'll be going next up in a helicopter with Austin Appleton, the manager of disaster recovery in our engineering department, so we can get a full picture. And, you know, they don't know until they see it up there. I don't know until I see it from up there. But we know that there's some bad damage in some areas. 15 of our Harris County libraries, and this is some positive news, they just told us we'll be able to open today from 9 to 6 p.m. and they can be cooling centers. They will be fully staffed, so there will also be activities for the kids. I know that our school districts are out, any of the affected areas. There's computers, you can charge your phone, there's AC. I will put all those locations, we'll put that on readyharris.org as soon as we have confirmation as to exactly which ones. They're just finalizing the staffing plans, but just stay tuned for that. And they're working also to stay open at least through the weekend. We'll keep them open as long as possible. What we found in the past is folks do visit the cooling centers during the day. Once school is in again, you know, that'll be great. People can go back to work as well. And then at night, folks just prefer to stay at their homes, even though it's pretty hot, you know, but with a fan and just light covering. We're coordinating with partners, hospitals, the Red Cross, fire departments for damage assessments, welfare checks on medically fragile individuals. We're responsible for Harris County. The various cities are responsible for theirs. So CenterPoint, again, has dispatched crews from across the region, and we're in touch with lifeline sectors, water, food, fuel. Some are offline. We are taking stock of the various grocery stores. Some are only being able to offer non-perishable canned goods, but you know, that's great. It's food. They know how vital they are to our community, and that will be a situation that's very fluid as these grocery stores come back online. They're also working very hard to be as fast as possible, and you know, I don't think we can even keep up with that on Ready Harris. We just need folks to watch the news. And in terms of, there have been some telecommunication towers impacted. I know that folks had a little bit of a hard time with the phones, and that's why, but they are absolutely addressing that. Debris has been cleared from the freeways. There is still debris in neighborhoods, and so we do have a couple recommendations there. We're also working with the Red Cross. So here's what folks should know. Folks should do. If you have an elderly neighbor, somebody who lives alone, who might be medically fragile, check in on them. Most importantly, we need your help with life safety. It's dangerous to be moving around on the streets right now. Some folks have said, I want to go out, get a hotel right now. It's not going to be that hot today. It's not going to be that humid the way it's going to be the next couple of days. And we don't want you to put yourself in danger. So if there's debris on your street, just be really careful and help pick up the smaller debris. If you've never used a chainsaw before, this is not the day to start. If you're using a generator, please remember not to bring it inside because those fumes from the carbon monoxide, they always end up being a problem. Don't put it under an awning. That all will be an issue. If it's large debris, the best thing you can do is call 311 anywhere in the county. They will route you to the relevant group. Folks that are traveling through the interstates, the major highways, those folks are out and about, but once you exit those interstates and you go into the neighborhood, watch for those tree limbs, power lines, grass, debris. So in the next 12 hours, it's still a public safety situation because of the debris, and we really want folks to keep that in mind. If you smell gas, the first thing you should do is get out. And after that, report the gas leak by calling Centerpoint. You can find the number online, and it's 1-800-752-8036. 1-800-752-8036. For folks without power, we have several folks here in the Operations Center who lost power during Hurricane Ike, and it's uncomfortable. It's sticky, but we'll get through it. The worst thing that will happen if we all do our part is there will be some discomfort, but we can definitely get through this together. The good news on the weather today is going to be pretty mild. The school districts are closed. The water is safe to drink. We don't have any updates on or any news of boil water notices, which we will keep watch on. Patience is the name of the game. Life safety first, and then patience with first responders, patience with our crews, patience with your neighbors, patience on road closures. Everybody, all of us here, all of us upstairs, everybody involved is working around the clock, and we're working as fast as we possibly can. We can't do it any faster. We're currently activated at level 1 maximum readiness, and I just signed a disaster declaration earlier this morning so that we can get any additional resources that we need with particular urgency. We'll post updates on readyharris.org as we have them. To conclude, just an update on our state and federal partners. The state is here. They've been here all night. I was chatting to the representative around 3:30 in the morning last night. They're always very supportive during emergencies. And they have put Harris County on the list of counties that would like to receive individual assistance, individual grants for the flooding a couple weeks ago. The White House has reached out to our government affairs team. Our ask for the administration right now that I will pass along the moment I connect with the administration is we are asking for individual assistance. And folks will remember I used to say, well, it's unlikely we'll get it because we didn't have enough impacts to receive individual assistance with the flooding. Well, we are requesting that the flooding be combined with this disaster. This is not unprecedented in terms of if we have two disasters back to back, they're connected, they're combined. At that point, we will certainly have enough affected individuals, and there's no reason we shouldn't get individual assistance. And so those are grants, and we would still also receive the low interest loans from the Small Business Administration. So I'm grateful state has included us in the request for presidential disaster declaration. We expect the federal government will place utmost attention on Governor Abbott's request to receive resources from federal partners as quickly as possible. If we need anything, we'll tell the state, they'll tell the federal government. But if the federal government supports us the way we hope they will, then residents affected by both disasters will be able to receive direct grants and also the loans. we're going to do everything to keep you informed. As soon as we have information, I don't want to provide information that I am not certain about. We will give you the best advice that we have. And in turn, we ask that you do your part in recognizing that this is the long game, that we're okay. We have had some casualties. We need to be careful on our roads. But right now, the winds have passed, and we need to take a beat, take a breath, and just be part of this response and recovery. The next few days are going to be hard. The next few weeks are going to be hard for some folks in our community. They're going to be uncomfortable, but we've been through this. Our first responders have been through this. This was an unlikely scenario, but here we are, and we're nothing if not resilient. So let me pass it on to Mayor Whitmire. No, Mayor, you have to leave after that, and so then I'll repeat in Spanish and continue.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
I'm here to emphasize to Houstonians that city government, our department heads, are doing everything they can. We've been to the emergency center since minutes after the storm. Most of us have been at the emergency center all night long. I think we should pause for a moment and acknowledge the loss of 4 Houstonians that tragically were victims of this storm. There could be a 5th, but we're not certain that it's weather-related, but the investigation is underway. The message last night was, do not go out. Stay at home last night. It was dark. We have 2,500 traffic lights not functioning. They're a priority. CenterPoint's trying to re-energize them. But as I talk to you, our first responders are spread thin. Stay away from downtown. Stay off the road unless you're an essential worker. Thank Superintendent Miles for canceling HISD today. So the children are at home, the parents should be at home. So the city employees are at home today, except for our essential workers. I would ask the business community to do the same. We're in recovery mode. Last night, certainly most of the evening was in a rescue mode. I can't say enough about Houston Fire, HPD, our emergency corps. I think we're witnessing the greatest collaboration during a crisis, certainly in my 50-plus years of public service. Mutual aid is coming from every direction. CenterPoint has 4,000 mutual aid technicians headed this way. I just got off the phone with Mayor Kirk Watson in Austin. They're sending us technicians to help us with our street lights. Smaller communities like Joe Zimmerman in Sugar Land are sending their public works director. I could go on, but it's important for Houstonians to know that everyone is doing everything they can. I mentioned first responders. I consider public works first responders. A lot of streets are blocked. As the judge said, be patient. It's going to take time. Last night in a briefing, I had been told by CenterPoint moments after the storm, they thought it would be a 24, 48-hour recovery for power. Obviously now we're learning that there's transmission lines down, so as the judge mentioned, it will be days, if not weeks. But we've done this before. It's not pleasant. In fact, people were scared last night, and they had a right to be scared. I was at a Little League game. We were warned that we were fixing to have a storm move through, and then we would continue the game. No, ladies and gentlemen. It was fierce, it was intense, it was quick, and most Houstonians didn't have time to place themselves out of harm's way. And back to those first responders, right in the middle of moments after the storm, we had firefighters on 290 dealing with live wires. So people would have their mobility, live wires. So we have to be concerned about our first responders in these conditions. We've certainly been in touch with the state, and MKID and the Emergency Center is sending us assistance. The county commissioners, Briones, who is here today, thank you for your collaboration. Moments after the storm, I was getting calls from Commissioner Garcia, Tom Ramsey, Briones, telling us they were moving their crews inside their precincts that reside in the city of Houston. So we're all in this together. I want Houstonians to know that first responders, and let me talk about public safety for a moment, which is all of our first responders, but law and order. We received 50 DPS officers overnight. They're stationed downtown right now. Sending the message to Houstonians, we're concerned about your public safety, your law and order, and the bad guys. I don't want to advertise how concerned we are about some vulnerabilities. We don't have power, which means you don't have burglar alarms. Don't even think about it if you're a bad guy. We have reinforcements, the collaboration of all of our area law enforcement, our sheriff's department. 50 DPS officers will be patrolling, backing up HPD. So there are a lot of moving parts, and there will even be more before this day is over. I have to go downtown in a moment for a damage assessment of the business central district. Please, Houstonians, area residents, stay away from downtown. It's dangerous. There's broken glass in every direction. So I want to emphasize, use common sense. Be smart. Don't be out today on the roads. 2,500 traffic lights are not energized. Our first responders will be making calls. If you have an emergency, call 911. If it's non-emergency, call 311. There's some backlog to those circuits, but they're functioning and up. We'll be at the emergency center after we do our damage assessment. We'll be getting coordinated with additional resources. The multi-service centers are going to be opened. Those with power will list the centers as cooling centers. The lifeline necessities are being established. The food establishments, health concerns such as dialysis will be focused on. And quite frankly, I'm proud to be the mayor of Houston today. We're showing again fine qualities in the unity that we come and distribute and exhibit during these difficult times. But we're doing everything we can. Be patient, use common sense, be kind to your neighbors, your family, your pets. Let's don't forget our family members that are caught up in this, including our pets. And I'll be glad to answer any questions. I will also, Jolanda Jones, Representative, thank you for being here. Commissioner Briones.
Thank you, Mayor.
I'll be glad to yield any of my time to you if you'd like to come in. I know she went through a horrified experience with her family. She was out working. Her family had to hide in a closet because of downed trees in the Timber Grove area. My house, I want everybody to understand, I'm walking the walk. I have no power at my house. And I'm not on anybody's priority list. Mine will be returned to power when everyone else's is. So with that, thank you, Judge, for bringing us together. The collaboration is strong, and it will be in the days to come.
We promised the Spanish media I'd go after you, so let me just repeat my remarks in Spanish.
Could I
Thank you,
yield to the commissioner for a
Mayor,
moment?
there's an impact in all 4 counties, and so whenever we have an impact on one county, the commissioner joins, but all 4 counties have been impacted, and I don't feel comfortable with giving special treatment. Everybody was notified that you as the mayor and I as the county judge are speaking. I'm happy for them to join, but at least if you want her to speak, let me do the duty to the Spanish
Sure.
constituents.
Well, I'm
And-
just glad I made I'm glad I made the approval list.
Oh, Mayor, this
Thank
is a
you.
disaster. This is not the time. Okay, so, en español. Estamos aquí, bueno, primero agradecerle al alcalde Whitmire por venir, todo el apoyo de la ciudad, todo el apoyo de nuestro personal de socorro, tanto la policía como los bomberos. Han sido 2 semanas muy largas. Yo sé que esta mañana muchísimas personas se están levantando, áreas impactadas en el área de San Jacinto por la inundación hace unos días. No fueron impactadas por el evento de anoche, pero somos una comunidad. Nuestro personal de socorro, nuestros socorristas son los mismos. Están cansados, así como ustedes como comunidad también están cansados. Entonces, vamos a hablar un momento de que esto es trágico, injusto, mala suerte, pero después de decir eso, vamos a seguir adelante y seguir trabajando. Anoche esperábamos algo de lluvia, pero en lugar de eso llegó un evento de viento severo. Ese evento de viento de 80 a 100 millas por hora no se había visto desde el año 1983, cuando el huracán Alicia nos impactó aquí en el condado Harris. Algunas personas recuerdan, que en el 2008 aquí estaba yo también, y muchos vientos, pero no llegaron a estas velocidades. Hay mucho que sabemos y también hay mucho que no sabemos. Lo más importante que les pido aquí es que nos den 24 horas. Por ahora, las personas que no tienen electricidad, sin luz, no saben qué va a suceder, les pido que nos den ese tiempo para terminar de entender todos los impactos. Sabemos que hubo un tornado en Bridgeland, en la comunidad de Cypress. Sabemos que en el área que pasó de Bridgeland hacia del noroeste al sureste. Entonces empieza el área de Bridgeland aquí y bajó los vientos hacia el área de la bahía. Entonces no significa que todo eso tenga desastres, pero sí significa que hay como unas líneas de destrucción, bien sea árboles, bien sea carros, a veces hogares, y todo como en esa dirección. Han habido incendios estructurales, nuestros bomberos están trabajando con eso. Han habido grandes automóviles que también se han visto impactados, apartamentos cerrados. No sabemos exactamente el número de personas que han perdido la vida y no sabemos tampoco acerca de cualquier tipo de problemas de salud, de gente que se haya lastimado. No lo sabemos aún. Para todos, vamos a hablar acerca de este desastre en semanas, no en días. En cuanto a recoger el escombro, en cuanto a restaurar la luz, es mucho tiempo, pero es lo que sucede en este tipo de desastre. Anoche tuvimos 930,000 individuos familias en el área de Center Point sin electricidad. Durante la noche, a través de la noche, trabajaron toda la noche. Ahora hay 740,000 clientes en toda la región sin electricidad. La gran mayoría de ellos están en el condado Harris. Lastimosamente, el tracker de Center Point que avisa dónde están los apagones no está funcionando en este momento. Para aquellas personas que no tienen electricidad, les pido un poco de paciencia. Quiero ser muy directa para que calibren las expectativas. Hay 10 líneas de transmisiones que se han derrumbado en el condado. Son esas líneas grandísimas, esas torres que siempre vemos. De esas, 7 están derrumbadas en el condado Harris. o sea, 10 en la región que se han derrumbado, 7 están en el condado Harris. A los individuos, las familias que reciben la electricidad directamente de la línea de transmisión, puede que se queden sin electricidad hasta semanas. Eso fue lo que sucedió durante Ike. Hay 2,000 personas, trabajadores de Centerpoint, viniendo de toda la región para apoyar a arreglar esas líneas de transmisión. Están esperando hasta 4,000 individuos, pero ni siquiera han terminado la evaluación de los impactos y no la terminarán sino hasta mañana con Centerpoint. No entendemos tampoco quiénes están conectados a las líneas de transmisión y quiénes no. Le quiero agradecer a todos los socorristas, a todas las personas que también escucharon nuestros mensajes y se protegieron en una estructura, en el lugar base de donde estuvieran. Así pudimos salvar incontables vidas. Nuestros grupos de trabajo, bien sea de los precintos, bien sea de la ciudad, bien sea del estado, han trabajado toda la noche por levantar esos escombros, especialmente el estado en las autopistas más grandes y los demás en las calles más pequeñas. No hemos terminado. Entonces, lo que va a seguir es más recogida de escombros. Y ahorita voy a tomar un helicóptero con un líder en nuestro departamento de ingeniería para entender tanto ellos como yo exactamente cuál es el daño. Aquí les doy buenas noticias. 15 de nuestras bibliotecas públicas del condado Harris, que son hermosas, tienen cualquier cantidad de servicios, libros, computadores, energía y aire acondicionado, van a estar abiertas hoy. De 9 a 6 van a estar abiertas durante el fin de semana. Vamos a ver cuánto tiempo pueden estar abiertas, pero yo espero que durante el tiempo que se necesiten. Normalmente, cuando ha sucedido esto antes, las personas sin luz se quieren igual quedar en su casa por la noche. Entonces de repente tienen que si más ligera la ropa y tal, pero durante el día, si los niños no están estudiando, si los padres no están trabajando, ir a un sitio como las bibliotecas, pues es muy conveniente. Entonces vamos a poner en Ready Harris la información de eso en cuanto lo tengamos. Estamos coordinando con nuestros hospitales, la Cruz Roja, los departamentos de incendio, todo eso para apoyar a las personas que son frágiles médicamente. Centerpoint ha enviado, como les digo, día y noche trabajadores. Estamos también en contacto con los supermercados, con los proveedores de gasolina, la cadena de producción, los otros socios de comunicación. Sí se vieron afectadas algunas torres de telecomunicación, pero se está restaurando. Y los supermercados, si no tienen, hielo o algo refrigerado, sí tienen bienes enlatados, etcétera. En cuanto a qué deben saber, lo más importante que les pido es la seguridad, la protección de las vidas. Es peligroso estar andando por las calles el día de hoy. Hay árboles, hay electricidad, hay escombros. Entonces, si usted está en su vecindario, en su hogar, por favor no salga. Escuché a algunas personas que quieren ir a un hotel ahorita. No hay apuro, esto va para largo. Si acaso nos puede ayudar a levantar los escombros pequeños. Si no ha usado una sierra antes, no intente hoy día. Y cuidado también con los generadores, porque si lo deja adentro, puede haber la intoxicación de monóxido de carbono. Si necesita salir o de repente usted ya está en la carretera, necesita regresar, tenga cuidado cuando llegue a las calles. Si huele gas, lo primero que tiene que hacer es salir de donde está y después llamar a Centerpoint y reportar eso. Entonces, el número es 1-800-752-8036, 1-800-752-8036. Aquellas personas nuevamente sin luz. Las personas que se quedaron sin luz durante el huracán Ike en 2008, hay aquí personas que sufrieron eso y lo que me explican es incómodo, pero uno lo pasa. Lo vamos a lograr. Ahorita priorizar la vida, la seguridad, y lo peor que puede suceder en estas semanas es estar incómodos. Pero vamos a estar bien si trabajamos todos juntos. Hoy día el clima nos está favoreciendo, pero ya mañana pasado se va a poner muy caliente y muchísima humedad. Entonces, aquí lo importante es la paciencia, la importancia de la vida, de la seguridad, paciencia con nuestros socorristas, paciencia con los trabajadores que recogen el escombro, paciencia con sus vecinos, paciencia con cuánto se demoran en abrir las calles. Todo el mundo está trabajando, estamos trabajando todo el día, toda la noche, cuan más rápido podemos. Estamos ya activados a nivel 1, que es el nivel más alto, y también firmé ahorita una declaración de desastre para poder obtener otros recursos que necesitemos. Si tiene una experiencia médica, llame al 911, llame al 311, puede llamar en cualquier parte del condado, de cualquier ciudad en el condado, para recibir, para reportar ayuda con los escombros, y cualquier otra cosa que necesite, llame al 211. Vamos a poner más información en Ready Harris en cuanto la tengamos. Para terminar, el Estado está aquí, el Departamento de Emergencias del Estado han estado toda la noche, el gobernador Abbott y yo trabajamos muy bien durante las emergencias. La Casa Blanca se ha conectado con nuestro equipo y estoy pendiente de conectar ya con el liderazgo del gobierno federal. Lo que les voy a pedir es que nos ayuden a combinar en la burocracia ambos desastres que han sucedido en estas últimas semanas, y también las inundaciones. Al hacer eso, vamos a llegar al nivel que podemos recibir fondos directos para ayudar a las personas que se han visto afectadas. Depende de la familia y de los daños, pero eso es mejor obviamente que los préstamos que seguros, lo más seguro es que si vayamos a recibir, tendríamos oportunidad para hacer ambas. Entonces, para concluir, estamos haciendo todo para mantenerlo informado, para enviarle la mejor información, el mejor consejo, y también pedimos que usted haga de su parte, que, como les dije, paciencia, conduzca con cuidado, no salga hoy si puede. Usted lo hace eso en su área y nosotros trabajaremos bien y vamos a sobrepasar esto juntos. Yo sé que los próximos días, las próximas semanas van a ser incómodas y de repente trágicas a medida que escuchemos de más impactos, más muertes, pero todos, muchos de los socorristas ya han pasado por esto, muchas personas en la comunidad ya han pasado por esto similar, entonces vamos a salir adelante, ya ojalá se nos pase esta mala suerte y a trabajar todos unidos como comunidad. I forgot one thing in English and in Spanish. The Department of Public Health is working on making sure that any food establishments do not open while they don't have the power properly restored. And so all of our various departments are working on the life safety portion. Entonces, lo último es que el Departamento de Salud Pública está trabajando con los restaurantes para que no abran si es que no tienen ahorita todo para mantener los alimentos de una manera segura y apropiada. Okay.
Could I,
The mayor has to leave shortly, and so we're going to take a few questions while the mayor is here, if that's okay.
could I make a point that's vital? There's some messaging going out on social media that Houston's under a boil your water notice. That's just not true. Our water plants are functioning. They're on generators, but the east side, which furnishes about 60% of our water, is functioning. The water is safe, so please dispel that. Obviously, if I had more time, I'd talk about in another day. Our water plants are fragile because they've been neglected for years, and it's a high priority, but today, during the storm, our water is safe to drink. If there's any change in the days to come, we'll certainly let you know. Now, I don't want to play favorites because it's your press conference, but Yolanda Jones has a very vital message about the homeless and the conditions they're facing downtown. So I don't want to get out of line, but she's got a real concern. That's her district, and the glass is everywhere, and it's kind of the purpose of me being here is to allow people to know the concerns we have and how you address public safety. So, Judge, thank you but
Thank you.
Can
Let's
I-
take questions and then we can have, yeah.
Just really quickly. I
I
actually.
tried.
No, but I actually went downtown because it's in my district. And I just want to say this, you need to stay away from downtown. I literally just came from there. There's glass everywhere, big glass, because buildings glass have fallen. And I'm extremely concerned about the homeless population because if you don't have shoes, you're going to shred your feet. And if you have on flip-flops, so just stay away. I know people are there sort of like watching a bad accident to take video. It's not worth it. Please stay away. I'm really concerned. That's all I have to say.
Do you guys have any questions? Thank you.
Mayor Whitmire, I was going to ask you, you mentioned a possible fifth fatality. Can you elaborate on that? What part of town?
It's under investigation. That's all I can tell you is when I showed up before sunup, it was still 4 fatalities as it was when I left mid-morning during the night. But we're not ready to release that because we're trying to determine if it's weather-related. So I'll let you know as soon as I saw the fire chief was here. I was going to recognize him. I'm supposed to meet Chief Satterwhite a few minutes ago to do an assessment downtown. So I think they're actually arranging when we finish here for our press availability to discuss further city business and concerns.
Any other questions, folks?
Yes. Is there any further information concerning the known 4 people that died due to the storm, especially related to the one?
Some real tragedies. I was briefed last night. Horrible accident with a family. A tree fell, went right through the driver's compartment with children in the back. So that's where I was concerned about, that we slow down and remember those that have suffered so much. Allow our first responders. The areas are being investigated. Then there was a tower that fell on a maintenance man. So the other was a tree fatality again. So it's amazing when you travel across the city, Timber Grove, where the commissioner lives, trees next door to me. It's amazing how many people came so close to losing everything. And we need to keep them in our thoughts. And the details, addresses, and others will be forthcoming, but at this point, they're investigations.
What was the highest wind gust reported yesterday?
Wind?
You said it was a tornado. It was confirmed as a tornado.
The National Weather folks are telling there was twisters. They don't necessarily call it a tornado. What's amazing, as the judges pointed out, it just came down 290 through northwest Houston, through the Heights, into the Central Business District, and headed toward the bay, going literally, that's that footprint right there. 80, 90, it hit 100 miles per hour, which your hurricane type intensity. And what is so shocking, and I was out in it, is the suddenness, the intensity, and what you didn't feel safe in a car. Of course, you're in a car when we were leaving the ballpark, so what do? So we just pulled over in the parking lot. People were finding cover anywhere, the car washes, people were pulling in, service stations. It was so dangerous, and I was able to work my way to the emergency center going down Pinemont. T.C. Jester and Pinemont was completely blocked by large trees. So just shows you, we love our trees, but boy, during the storm, you gotta be prepared.
Jeff, did you have something to add?
Officially, the highest wind we've had so far is 78 miles an hour. That was recorded at I-10 in the San Jacinto River, U.S. Coast Guard cutter. Sorry. The highest wind recorded so far has been 78 miles per hour at I-10 at the San Jacinto River with the U.S. Coast Guard. Damage surveys are ongoing from the National Weather Service to determine if there was tornadoes, the track, the intensity of those locations that they are surveying. One is in northwest Harris County in the Bridgeland area. The other one is in the Baytown area, I believe, in the Galena Park, Baytown area. And then we're also going to be looking at some stuff around downtown Houston. What I have seen overnight, it was a lot of straight line wind, especially in the urban core. In this area, Oak Forest, Timber Grove, Spring Branch, into the downtown area, it was straight line winds. Everything is in the same direction. But I'll let Mr. Evans with the Weather Service talk a little bit more about the surveying.
Jeff Evans, National Weather Service. As Jeff said, we're out today. We have to determine, looking at damage, whether or not tornadoes occurred or not. We have not confirmed any tornadoes as of yet. This morning, we are, as Jeff said, we have teams in particular up there in Northwest Harris County and Northern Waller County to look for a tornado. We did have some video that seemed to suggest that it can look like on radar it would match that as well. The majority of this damage is straight line winds. It's hard for people to comprehend that this was not a tornado, consider the magnitude of the damage that we dealt with. But we do expect to find 80 to 100, maybe 100 plus mile an hour wind speeds is what tracked across a big part of our metropolitan area last night into downtown. As you get high rises, the winds get stronger as you get away from the friction effects of the ground. We were messaging for the downtown residents to seek a lower level and to move away from windows for that reason. After this press conference, I'm going to go downtown and take a look at the damage down there. So as of right now, we have not confirmed any. When we do, or if we do confirm a tornado, we will be sharing that out to everybody, hopefully here in the next few hours.
This may be a question for CenterPoint, but just, you said that the transmission lines are down. I know, people want to know, how do I find out if my house is tied to these transmission lines? Like, is it me that's going to be out of power for 2 weeks? Like, what's your message for people who are sitting in the dark right now?
My message is we're still on pole lock with CenterPoint Energy. It's going to take us another day to assess. We've got 10 transmission lines down across our footprint, 7 of which are in Harris County. We hope to have our outage tracker back up and running soon, but this is going to be right now we're looking at a multi-day event. And as the judge said, we've got 4,000 mutual assistance folks en route to help us. But if you depend on life-saving equipment, you need to make plans now to find another place to stay.
Most of those, like in the Heights or in Branch area, like the places that are kind of blacked out right now, because there are other parts of town that have power, but it's smaller.
I'm not aware of that information, and everything I'm telling you is as of 8 o'clock this morning.
Do you want to tell them about not to check the tracker? I forgot that earlier.
Not to check
The
it.
outage
Yeah,
tracker.
the tracker's down right now. It'll be back up hopefully soon. And I would like to, from a safety perspective, I would say if you see a power line that's down, walk away. Please call us at 713-207-2222. If you smell natural gas inside your home, walk outside and go to a safe distance and call us and alert us as well.
One more question to the mayor. After the meeting tonight, to avoid downtown.
You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I've been so busy. It's on my mind, and we'll address that when we leave. We dealt with it last night during the rescue leading into our recovery. We notified the fans by public announcement, do not try to go back west through downtown. HPD set up some barricades requiring people to go east, of course, but the east end was hit really hard. But to go east from the stadium and use I-10 or go through Emancipation Drive and go to 45 to stay away from the west side. But downtown, I'm headed that way to do a damage assessment with the fire chief, public works, and police chief. It's bad. And as Representative Jones said, the homeless vulnerability is great due to just the glass, but workers need to get in there and replace the windows. And I would ask the business community to be very thoughtful in allowing their employees to work at home or be sensitive to the dangers of downtown. I have more to report. I'll let you know when I talk to the Astros here in a little while. I was even curious this morning, if you don't have power where the team is staying, not the home team, but the visiting team, it'd be interesting to see how they function, but that's not my highest priority. But it is an interesting point if you're going to try to conduct a game tonight. You know, I'm sitting here telling people to stay off the roads, and people love their Astros. They're on a pretty good streak right now. So it's going to be tempting to be downtown, but I will be talking to them. I'm certain Major League Baseball will make that decision, but I'll certainly do my part to express caution. There are things more important than a ball game today. We've lost lives. We got first responders exposed. I'm going to repeat again. I watched firefighters on 290 at about 6:45 live, getting wires and cables and transmission lines off of 290. I mean, that takes training, takes a lot of guts, and we're very fortunate to have our first responders, and we shouldn't wait till we're in a crisis to acknowledge them. What they did in Kingwood was amazing and saved lives. So anyway, any other questions? Then I've got to go to work.
Have you gotten a sense of what impact, if any, this severe weather has had on fuel gas stations?
You know, as I was traveling down Shepherd a while ago, most of the service stations and fast food establishments are without power. Some will be on generation. We'll, we need some more diesel over at the East Side Water Plant. We've already ordered large amounts of diesel to come in to keep the lights on. The lifeline services, such and HEB's already kicked in to provide ice and water for our communities. Kroger's doing their part. So it's just the recovery mode that we find ourselves in. There'll be adequate gas, I can assure you. You might have to travel to a larger, in fact, it is interesting, as the weather report was, we have pockets of power across Houston. So there may be some need to seek out a station, but we're in a recovery mode. Everyone's working as hard as they can, and let's be safe, use common sense, smarts. I raised my kids to tell them, remember the misery factor. You want to know what the misery factor is? You remember how miserable you are after you've messed up, and you try to remember that before you do it. So I would ask Houstonians to remember that misery factor. If you go out where there's live wires and you take chances, you're going to be miserable. So don't do it. Be safe and smart. Be proactive in your thinking. So anyway, thank y'all. Y'all have a key role. Any other questions? Then I'm going to get out of here.
Mark Sloan answer that one too for the county.
Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Mayor, Judge. Mark Sloan, I'm the Emergency Management Coordinator for Harris County. On fuel in all lifeline sectors, we're constantly evaluating the status of those. So as you're out and about, you're going to run across areas without power. The convenience store may not have power and is not open. But as you see the swath of damage in the area, and as the mayor mentioned and the judges mentioned, there are areas that have power. So the resources are available, the supply is available. And once those stores and convenience stores and gas stations come back online, they will be replenished, and then you can access those. But again, life safety is our first and foremost priority. If you don't need to go out, don't. Stay home, wait it out, and then you'll be able to get around as needed, especially if you're in the impacted zones.
Is Cypress also an area to avoid right now?
Yes, so it's pretty hard hit, and especially, well, Bridgeland is right there. Thankfully, from what we've heard so far, it seems that it wasn't so much on the structures as much as the trees. But I'm out there in that community often, riding my bike, and so I feel for everyone, but certainly think of my friends out there. In terms of Cypress, my friends are all without power out there, and they could be the ones that are connected to those transmission lines. So we don't know yet. Just hang tight 24 hours for us to sort that out. But I know folks are going through a tough time. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Safe Light Repair, Safe Light Replace.
If you get a big old crack like this, trust the pros at Safe Light to replace and recalibrate. The helpful techs at Safe Light are the experts at replacing windshields and recalibrating all the high-tech safety stuff that keep me and the fam safe.
Safe Light Repair, Safe Light Replace.